Hey, it's Chris. Productivity and note-taking are two very popular subjects here on the channel, especially when it comes to the iPad. And today, we're gonna be checking out a device that's an e-ink productivity tool that some of you might actually prefer over an iPad for handwritten notes. What? Am I actually being serious? Well, for some of you, I am. Because if you think about it, what is an iPad? It's a flat, mobile, touch-friendly, modular device that lets you browse the web, watch videos, type, game, handwrite and draw, and hook up to an external display. Long story short, it does a lot. The Supernote, on the other hand, is still a flat, mobile, touch-friendly device, but it's a lot more focused. It's meant to be more like digital paper or a digital version of a notebook. So it's not for browsing, it's not for gaming, it's not for streaming, you can't hook it up to a keyboard or an external display, but it is very specifically for writing. Ironically, the iPad can be very paper-like, especially with the paper-like screen protector installed here, but the Supernote is even more paper-like in a way because it's only paper-like. Basically, it's a faithful recreation of digital paper with some superpowers. Now, both of these are great productivity devices that are gonna let you take notes, sketch, annotate PDFs. Yes, you can do that on the Supernote, and also read ebooks. You can also look at your calendar here, or you could even look at your email. One of the biggest differences though, and even the iPad fans have to admit this, is that the Supernote is meant to be distraction-free, whereas the iPad experience is packed full of potential distractions. Now, that said, even the PR rep who sent me the Supernote review unit when I requested it said that this is not meant to replace the iPad. If you need an all-in-one tablet, you should definitely get an iPad. They said that. And as I'm looking through the App Store, here's just a list of a bunch of note-taking apps here. There's a ton, and they all do different things. Not only does the iPad just do more in general, but even in the note-taking department, there are more ways and interfaces and tools and methodologies that you can make use of with the iPad than you can on the Supernote. But the Supernote is simple, and it's straightforward, and it's focused on doing that one thing, writing, getting stuff out of your head and onto this digital paper, which by the way can sync up with your iOS device or through the cloud. So it's not like you can't make it and make use of it somewhere else. You can, but when you're doing stuff on the Supernote, you're meant to not think about how it's coming out, just getting it out. Now, the Supernote screen here is just good enough. It's a 1404 by 1872 resolution at 226 ppi. And while I don't personally notice it really when I'm using it, I mean, it does look a little bit jagged, the ink, when you look up close. That is, if you're paying attention. But again, I don't pay attention really because that's not the point here. The ideas flow, the ink flows, and honestly, it really is great. Now the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, on the other hand, here is designed to look as crispy and realistic as possible with its liquid Retina XDR display. So over on the iPad, things just look great. Videos, photos, even wallpapers, like the one that you're seeing here from the Daily Tech wallpaper collection, which I'll link up down in the description for you. But if you're somebody who's really into writing, then you gotta consider the input method, the Stylus. You got the Apple Pencil Gen 2 on the one hand, and you have what looks like and functions like a really nice pen, just with a different nib, over on the Supernote side of things. Now, I do wish that Supernote had sent me a different style of pen that didn't have the polka dot color scheme out of all the things it could have sent, but maybe that's just what was available. But they've got some really nice looking pens that you can buy to go with this. And not just traditional in terms of how they look, but also traditional in terms of how they feel, how they are to use, to write with. The Apple Pencil 2, on the other hand, is designed to look and feel just like an actual pencil. It's incredibly low latency, and it's great for writing and sketching, and you can double tap it to switch between tools without actually having to poke a different tool on the screen. So the Supernote pens are designed to feel like really high-end, real old school pens. And a big part of that is how they write. And the biggest part of that is the nib, which is made out of ceramic that you never have to get replaced, unlike the tips of an Apple Pencil, which just writes so incredibly smooth. Now the Apple Pencil 2 costs $120, not cheap. The Supernote pens cost between $44 and $75, but you can get one with the Supernote itself, whereas the Apple Pencil doesn't actually come with the iPad, unless you add it on. It's not in the box. Now, obviously, the Apple Pencil is more versatile. You don't realize how much you love its versatility, things like the double tap feature, its pressure sensitivity, all the various digital software tools that go along with it until you don't have them. But everything at some level is a trade-off, and I realized that more than ever as I started comparing these two devices. For instance, the iPad Pro, the Apple Pencil, they can do so much more technically, but you can bog down a little bit thinking about, well, what app should I use and what tools within the app should I use? And when I do select a tool, well, how do I want it to look? I can fine tune every little possible detail. Over on the Supernote side of things, the developers were just like, no, here's what you can do. It's a very simple set of tools. Why don't you just get to work? And that actually does help you be a little bit more productive. And for that reason, I really feel like the Supernote is sort of like a physical version of Apple's focus mode, meaning there's just very little to think about. You just do what you're supposed to do, and that is right. So a lot of people on the channel know how the Apple Pencil feels, but I would describe this pen as being very smooth, low latency as well, natural, and it's just a feeling of fun. It is fun to use this thing. I will say too, I don't feel like the camera actually accurately captures what the screen of the Supernote looks like. When you look at it on the camera, I see the angles over there with the iPad all bright and nice, and it's only at 50% brightness actually, versus this. In real life, this looks nowhere near like what it looks like. It looks very dull on the camera angle. That's not what it looks like in real life. I just wanted to point that out. And I also wanted to point out that if you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, you should, because it puts simple discovery of apps and accessories that you're gonna love on autopilot. You get an email that arrives just like magic every Friday right in your inbox with some great stuff for you to explore. Doesn't waste your time. It's free. It's also linked up down below. Also, since we are talking about productivity today, I just want to point out, as you can see, I've been planning out here, I am putting together a productivity course, which will specifically be tailored for those of you that want to get more done within the Apple ecosystem. So if you want to know when that launches, and we've already had a bunch of people sign up, I only announced it one video ago, then give me your email using the form down below. I'm not going to send you any spam or anything. I'll just ping you when that productivity course launches. It's going to be life-changing. So for handwritten note-taking, which is definitely what interests me the most about the Supernote, it's hard for me to pick a favorite in terms of the creation of handwritten notes themselves. And I say creation of the handwritten notes themselves because obviously once you have the note, you can do more with it over on the iPad. But it feels like note-taking here over on the Supernote is more purposeful because when you open the Supernote, the only thing you can do here is write. There's no apps, there's no distractions, there's no other possibilities even. So the digital writing tools that you can switch between provide just enough options to differentiate what you're writing, but not enough to really complicate things or to overwhelm you. There's something satisfying about picking this thing up and writing with it. And I think it's just that you do feel more purposeful when you're using it. And that is fun. One thing I do want to point out here is that you do have some templates. There's no apps, but there are some templates. So I can come in here and select from like ruled paper or grid paper of various different sizes. And there's actually like 3 pages of different templates here. There's like a hand sketch diary template. We have a sheet format or a staff format if you want to do some music. There's even task list or a daily calendar, weekly calendar, all right? So if you want to fill out your calendar this way, if you're used to paper calendars, then you could definitely do that. So those templates really go a long way towards helping this not feel completely devoid of features or personalization. You can personalize the way that you interact with this, but get some guidelines, get some help to help you organize stuff. And I should say also, there's a really nice file system as well that will help with folders, just kind of keep everything organized. So if you wanted to do something like the GTD system or bullet journaling system on the Supernote, could you do that? Yeah, you definitely could. And you know, there's a lot of people who are selling things like paper products, like the analog system, which a lot of people like. And if you like the idea of that, but you still want to have something kind of digital and kind of save on having a bunch of clutter around with paper, just do it here. Do it on the Supernote. Now, note-taking on the iPad, of course, isn't just limited to handwriting or even typing. There's also voice dictation. And I do really love that multimodal input, right? However it makes sense at any given time or in any given context, whether I need to just type because people are around or if no one's around and I want to get some serious voice dictation done, or if I just am gonna think differently by using the Apple Pencil, I'm just a little bit creative in a different way doing that, I can do all of that. It's so versatile. So of course you can use something like PDF Expert on the iPad to manipulate PDFs, sign contracts, do some annotation. But if you want to annotate PDFs, you're not totally left out over on the Supernote side of things. It has some fairly nice, powerful PDF annotation capabilities. See this little line over on the side here? If I swipe down on that, that'll actually bring up a menu, and you can see I got document, note, digest, files, mailbox, and calendar. So if I want to come in here and actually do some calendar planning in various views, whether it's just today or the week or the month, I can do all of that as well. And I can also make some notes straight out of that screen. And then the calendar is gonna sync up with your Gcal or iCal, whatever it is that you use. If you wanna sync that up here, you can. So it wasn't long ago for iPad apps that I covered a pencil planner type of app. Well, this is that in real life over here on the Supernote. So you can have the fake version or you can have the real thing. And as I swipe down on this menu, you will see there's a Kindle option here. That's because the one app that you can install is a Kindle app, and it will let you sync up your Kindle ebooks if you sign in with your Amazon account. I briefly looked at it. It's not the greatest quality. It's certainly not better than my actual Kindle Oasis. So I wouldn't buy it for that specifically, but that functionality technically does exist if you wanted to try it out, kind of as a bonus. So at the beginning of the video, I did say that some people out there might actually prefer note-taking on the Supernote over the iPad. Now, what I basically mean is if you don't already have an iPad, but you have an iPhone or a Mac, and you would like to have a tablet where you could do some digital writing, you may find the more focused approach of the Supernote to be beneficial to you, to not have as many distractions, to be a little bit more purposeful if you know that what you're going to do is right, whether that's calendar, whether that's email, whether that's notes or PDFs. If you know that you don't want to be doing a lot of streaming or gaming or surfing, whatever the ing might be that the iPad is so good at, then yeah, you might want to check out the Supernote. I think a lot of people on the channel probably won't. There might be some people who might want both. I've got both, and there are times when I'm reaching for the Supernote over the iPad because it's just, number one, so fun. Number two, so focused. And I don't know, there's just something enjoyable about the actual pen experience here. I feel like my handwriting is actually clearer over here on the Supernote than it is on the iPad. Isn't that weird? There really is something. It's a better handwriting experience in terms of the actual writing out of stuff over on the Supernote. Not by a ton, but noticeably enough. There's so much more that I could say here, but honestly, I think a lot of people didn't even realize that products like the Supernote or like Remarkable even existed. And for those of you that have seen the ads on Instagram for Remarkable, Supernote, all these different e-ink tablets, and you wondered, well, what is it like? How does it stack up against the iPad? Hopefully this video gave you some insight. Either way, hopefully it was fun, you enjoyed it, learned something. If you have some questions, let me know down in the description. Don't forget to get signed up for that newsletter. You will not regret it. 75% open rate, going strong. People love that thing. Why wouldn't they? Put your app and accessory discovery on autopilot. That's what we designed it to do, and it's doing what it's supposed to. Also, there's a podcast. We're gonna pick up this discussion in the podcast and kind of continue on, respond to some of the comments and everything there. Whoa, sorry iPad, the pen just flew out and hit the iPad there. They're really enemies, aren't they? Don't forget to check out the wallpaper packs. There's a ton for you to choose from. There's even a super bundle. If you never want to go looking for wallpaper again, that is now an option. And thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you in the next video. Later.